Have you ever looked up at the night sky, at that vast star-dusted tapestry, and wondered about our place in the cosmos? For millennia, humanity has turned its gaze upward, seeking answers to the biggest questions. Where did we come from? Why are we here? And are we alone? For many, the answer to these profound questions is God, a divine creator, a guiding force. Billions of people across the globe find comfort, purpose, and community in their faith, and that is a deeply personal and powerful human experience. But what if there's another way to look at the universe? What if the answers aren't found in ancient texts or divine revelation, but in the laws of physics, the language of mathematics, and the grand unfolding story of cosmic evolution? Today, we're going on a journey, not to challenge anyone's faith, but to understand a different perspective. We'll explore 5 key reasons why some people, including many scientists and philosophers, look at the same universe, the same stars, the same miracle of life, and arrive at the conclusion that a divine creator might not be a necessary part of the equation. This exploration is rooted in a tradition of inquiry that stretches back through the ages, a tradition of skepticism, of demanding evidence, of following the data wherever it may lead. It's a viewpoint built on the foundations of science, logic, and a philosophical quest for understanding. So, let's begin our voyage. Let's set our coordinates for the intersection of reason and wonder, and explore why, for some, the cosmos is magnificent enough on its own, without needing a creator to set the stage. In the grand enterprise of science, our mantra is simple: show me the data. We build our understanding of the universe on a foundation of evidence that is observable, testable, falsifiable, and repeatable. Whether we're calculating the trajectory of a spacecraft to Mars, peering into the heart of an atom, or mapping the afterglow of the Big Bang, the rules are the same. We propose a hypothesis, and then we rigorously test it against the reality of the cosmos. If the evidence doesn't support the idea, no matter how elegant or comforting it may be, we must be prepared to discard it. The concept of God, as it's traditionally presented, resides in a realm described as supernatural, beyond the natural physical world that science can measure. By its very definition, a supernatural being is not bound by the laws of physics or chemistry. It cannot be placed under a microscope, detected by a telescope, or measured in a particle accelerator. For a scientist, this presents a fundamental problem. An entity that leaves no verifiable empirical trace in the universe is, from a scientific standpoint, indistinguishable from an entity that does not exist at all. There are no experiments we can design to prove or disprove its existence. This isn't to say science is arrogant, claiming to know everything, far from it. Science thrives on ignorance, it's the fuel for discovery. But when faced with a proposition that offers no testable predictions, no measurable effects, no way to be scrutinized by the tools of inquiry, the scientific approach is one of reservation. It's not a denial, but a withholding of belief. In the court of scientific evidence, the case for God remains unmade, not because of a lack of trying, but because the very nature of the claim places it outside the jurisdiction of scientific inquiry. Let's travel back in time to the dawn of human consciousness. Imagine our early ancestors huddled around a fire looking out into a world that was both magnificent and terrifying. The sun's warmth, the life-giving rain, the fury of a thunderstorm, the mystery of death, these were powerful, inexplicable forces. Without the tools of science to understand meteorology, astronomy, or biology, how do you make sense of it all? You tell a story. You personify the forces of nature. The lightning becomes the anger of a sky god. The harvest, a gift from a fertility goddess. This is a pattern we see repeated across every culture on Earth. From the pantheons of ancient Greece and Egypt to the spirits of the Amazon rainforest and the deities of the Hindu faith, humanity has conceived of thousands upon thousands of gods. Each god was perfectly tailored to the hopes, fears, and environment of the people who worshiped them. This staggering diversity of divine beings suggests a powerful idea that gods are not external realities we discovered, but internal concepts we created. They are reflections of our own minds, our societies, and our deepest psychological needs. Gods have served as powerful tools for social cohesion, providing a shared set of rules and a moral framework that could bind a tribe or a nation together. They offered comfort in the face of our ultimate fear, the oblivion of death, by promising an afterlife. They provided explanations for phenomena that were, for a time, beyond our comprehension. But as our understanding grew, the role of these gods began to shrink. We no longer need a sun god to explain the dawn, because we understand planetary rotation. The god of the gaps, the deity who resides only in the things we don't yet understand, finds his territory shrinking with every new discovery. For many believers, the Word of God is captured in sacred texts: the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the Vedas. These books are held as infallible, the ultimate source of truth and moral guidance. Yet when we examine them not as divine revelation but as historical documents, a different picture emerges. They are collections of stories, laws, poetry, and prophecies written by many different authors over hundreds or thousands of years. They are products of their time, reflecting the cultures, biases, and limited scientific understanding of ancient civilizations. When subjected to critical analysis, these texts reveal numerous internal contradictions. One passage may describe God as an all-loving, merciful Father, while another portrays him as a jealous, vengeful warrior demanding sacrifice. They contain historical and scientific claims that we now know to be inaccurate: a flat Earth, a global flood, a six-day creation. These inconsistencies challenge the notion of a single, coherent divine author. If a perfect, all-knowing being wrote a book for humanity, why would it be so ambiguous, so open to conflicting interpretations, and so filled with the errors of its age? Furthermore, a curious pattern emerges. Each religion with its own sacred text passionately claims that it alone holds the one true path, and that its God is the only real God. Why would an all-powerful creator reveal itself so differently and often contradictorily to different groups of people? And why do these divine beings so often possess such deeply human emotions? Jealousy, anger, pride, a need for praise and worship. From a skeptical perspective, these traits seem less like the characteristics of a transcendent cosmic intelligence and more like the projections of the flawed, emotional, and very human beings who wrote the stories in the first place. For centuries, the sheer complexity and apparent design of the universe was considered the ultimate proof of a creator. Just as a watch implies a watchmaker, the intricate clockwork of the cosmos seemed to demand a cosmic watchmaker. This was a powerful, intuitive argument. But then, science began to provide alternative explanations. Natural processes that, given enough time, could produce extraordinary complexity without any need for a guiding hand or a pre-written blueprint. Our understanding of the cosmos underwent a revolution. The origin of our universe, once a mystery reserved for myth and theology, now has a powerful scientific explanation: the Big Bang. About 13.8 billion years ago, all the energy and matter in the observable universe was concentrated in an unimaginably hot, dense state. It began to expand and cool, and through the fundamental laws of physics, gravity began to pull matter together, forming the first stars and galaxies. This wasn't a moment of creation from nothing by a deity, but a transition from one state to another, governed by physical laws that we can model and observe in the cosmic microwave background radiation, the faint echo of that initial expansion. And what about the magnificent diversity of life on our own planet? For this, we have Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection. It's a beautifully simple yet profoundly powerful mechanism. Random mutations create variation, and the environment selects for those traits that enhance survival and reproduction. Over billions of years, this unguided process has sculpted everything from the simplest bacterium to the intricate neural networks of the human brain. Acknowledging that we don't have all the answers, like what came before the Big Bang, doesn't automatically make God the default solution. It simply means there is more to discover, another frontier for science to explore. A common concern raised about a godless worldview is the question of morality. If there is no divine lawgiver, no fear of eternal punishment or promise of heavenly reward, what stops us from descending into chaos? What provides the foundation for kindness, justice, and compassion? For many, religion is the bedrock of their ethical framework. But the idea that morality can only come from a divine source is a claim that doesn't hold up to scrutiny. A meaningful, ethical life is not the exclusive domain of the religious. We can see the roots of morality deep within our evolutionary past. We are social animals. Our survival as a species has depended on cooperation, on forming groups, and on caring for one another. Traits like empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another, and altruism have provided a significant survival advantage. A group of early humans who looked out for each other, shared food, and defended one another from predators was far more likely to thrive than a group of selfish individualists. Our conscience, that inner voice of right and wrong, can be seen as a product of this evolutionary heritage. Furthermore, we build our moral codes through reason, social learning, and shared human experience. We can logically deduce that a society based on principles like the Golden Rule, treating others as we wish to be treated, is more stable, prosperous, and pleasant to live in than one without them. We learn from history, from philosophy, and from observing the consequences of our actions. Morality, from this perspective, is not a rigid set of commands handed down from on high, but an evolving, dynamic conversation we have with each other about how to live together and minimize harm and suffering. In the end, the question of belief is a deeply personal one. The path you choose to walk is yours alone. For billions, faith in God provides a powerful framework for life, a source of immense comfort, and a community of shared values. This exploration was never meant to diminish that. But for those who stand on the shores of skepticism, the evidence required to make the leap of faith simply isn't there. When we apply the rigorous tools of science, logic, and historical analysis, the concept of God appears not as a cosmic reality, but as a profoundly human idea. There is no verifiable empirical data that points to a supernatural creator. The universe, as revealed by cosmology and physics, seems perfectly capable of coming into existence and evolving according to natural laws. Life, in all its breathtaking complexity, can be explained by the unguided process of evolution. And morality, rather than being a divine decree, can be understood as a natural product of our social evolution and our capacity for reason and empathy. Many people, millions upon millions, live lives rich with purpose, joy, wonder, and profound moral conviction, all without belief in a higher power. Ultimately, you don't have to believe the universe was made for you to find it beautiful. For some of us, the truth that we are a fragile, temporary, and astonishingly improbable consciousness on a tiny speck of dust orbiting an average star in an unremarkable galaxy is more awe-inspiring than any myth. It makes our existence, our relationships, and our responsibility to each other all the more precious. The cosmos doesn't need a purpose for us to have one.